Welcome, my dear traveler of shadows, to tonight's riveting installment of Echoes of the Dark. I am your guide through the labyrinthine corridors of fear, Violet Nocturne. It's said that mirrors hold more than just reflections. They capture fragments of our very souls, daring us to ponder what lurks just beneath the shimmering surface. But what if a mirror wasn't simply a reflector, but a gateway? A fragile boundary separating us from an unspeakable reality? Ah, yes. You'll want to stay with me for this one. Tonight, I invite you to peer into the story of the Obsidian Mirror. Christine, an antique collector with a penchant for discovering forgotten oddities, recently acquired something she shouldn't have, deep within the cobwebbed attic of an estate sale. An unassuming ebony-framed mirror with intricate etchings adorning its sides, carvings that almost looked ancient, script that no linguist would recognize. But Christine, of course, couldn't resist its allure. You wouldn't have either, would you? From the moment she brought it home, her quiet little life took a most sinister turn. You see, Christine convinced herself the mirror would make the perfect centerpiece for her sitting room. Yet, after the first night of its presence, the darkness inside her apartment felt almost thicker. Have you ever felt the kind of silence that seems to echo around your very existence? Yes, that's precisely what she experienced. The sort of silence that is not absent of sound, but swollen with sinister potential. Soon she began to notice flickers. Yes, flickers in her periphery. At first, harmless, trivial even. A flash of movement while brushing her teeth. A subtle grayscale blur as she lounged and read her novels. You see, the human mind is so frightfully extraordinary at dismissing the peculiar. We tell ourselves it's imagination's folly, until it no longer can be. By the fourth evening, Christine could no longer ignore the distortions. The figures behind the glass were not trickery. They stood still, inhuman silhouettes, always in her peripheral vision, but never coming fully into focus. They whispered, oh so gently, threaded tones with syllables that sounded half-formed, like language spilled from broken mouths. She was sure it was the kind of whisper that layers in subconscious guilt. Tell me, my dear viewer, have you ever lied awake at night wishing you didn't hear a familiar voice calling your name in an empty room? Christine, our bold and yet unfortunate soul, decided to confront these apparitions. Oh yes, she brought a handheld lantern straight to the mirror's edge, daring herself to stare into the unknown. But this is where the story takes a skin-prickling turn. Staring deeply into her reflection, she began to notice fractures. At first, cracks weaving across the mirror's surface. But the cracks didn't flower outward. They tightened inward, as though expanding into some incomprehensible depth within. And then, she saw it. Her mirror self wasn't just a reflection. It blinked independently, its eyes luminous with hunger, almost taking on lives separate from Christine. Not her, not quite evil, yet profoundly unsettling. And then, my dear friend, it smiled. Not an ordinary smile. A smile so wrong, it practically erased any sense of reason. From that very moment, the line between mirror and solid reality began to unravel. Christine found her days and nights colliding. When she tried to sleep, her reflection would continue to blink back at her, unnervingly restless in her nocturnal stillness. Mirrors across her house began to synchronize, smiling imagery all etched in some horrifying unity that normal glass was never designed to perform, and she, unable to destroy them. Isn't that peculiar? They seemed impervious, perhaps aware of their host's futile resistance. On the 10th day after the mirror's arrival, Christine's life reached its crescendo. As the braver know, horror does not come crashing but creeps, yet its crescendo is undeniable. Standing before the mirror, she begged her own visage to explain itself. And for the first time, her reflection broke forward, speaking softly, calmly. It said, "It's your turn." And then, the glass rippled, swallowing her whole. Christine disappeared from our tangible world, yet the mirror stayed behind. A black portal sealed tight, forever harboring secrets of what lies beyond. It now sits unnoticed in a second-hand store, marked unceremoniously at $72. Would you dare purchase it, my dear listener? So there you have it. Christine's encounter with the Obsidian Mirror, a tale that asks questions you likely won't wish to answer by moonlight. What fragments of yourself might you leave behind, should a shadow ever have the chance? As always, my dear purveyors of fear, let this evening's jaunt into hysteria remind you that the veil between worlds is not always clear. Sometimes, it is clad in obsidian and frames our darkest truths. I am Violet Nocturne, and it has been my privilege to entertain your nightmares yet again. Until next we meet, keep watching, keep doubting, and oh yes, never trust your reflection again.